Okay. Because knowing me, I'll forget to hit record. And then I'm like, wait, can we do that again?
Yeah. It's a warm up practice.
Yeah, exactly. That was the warm up.
Yeah.
No, but I'm glad that they had reached out to me because this is right up my alley. I mean, that's what I do here at Thrift Diving. We talk about thrift stores. People love estate sales.
Yeah.
Roadside is not even off the table when it comes to my community. So being able to talk to you and maybe get some tips and tricks on how to navigate this thing called estate sales, I think is going to be a really good podcast episode. And it's just going to be laid back, relaxed. I mean, I wrote some things down, but really it's just us having a good time.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'm talking about stuff we love.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, hey, I saw your video on building your shed.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
I just finished one this summer and I was like,
oh, you did?
I can relate kind of.
Now, did you build the shed yourself?
Yeah, we did. It's a lot smaller. It's small, but it was just like going through all that process.
So it either stoked like feelings of nostalgia or feelings of dread. Like, oh gosh, I can't believe, like, I'd never want to go through that again.
Yeah,
no. It was.
Yeah, I would do it again, but it was it took me 3 years and like there's all this permitting and like so.
Oh, it took you 3 years?
Yeah, because of like going through this whole, I don't have to go into everything that ever happened, but by the time we got permitting and got everything done, and like they had to have a land survey because all our pins were missing because it was so old, and it was like one thing after another, and we finally got it, and my family came and they used to build houses, and so they all showed up. It was like a barn raising.
Oh my goodness. So you did the entire shed yourself?
Yes. Yeah. I drew it in CAD, and then we went from there, and then they came in like those. I have a lot of engineers in my family, so they argued over what was the best way to make it.
Yeah. Okay. So now I know we're going to talk about estate sales and all of that.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to know more about this because, you know, to me, it's a very interesting thing when I hear about someone that built their own shed and how long it was, the process. So maybe that's a whole other conversation if you want to come back and we can talk about
sure, 100%.
how to build your own shed, because I would love to talk about that. But so what size did you end up building it? It's
not very big. So it was supposed to be 8 by 12. And then the survey came in and I was 3 inches off of so it had to be 8 by 10. And this is where it's kind of wild. So we did like the mid-century like slope roof, like modern looking design, but it's 13 feet tall, so it's really tall. So I could loft it. So I wanted my room back.
Wow.
So as long as I kept it under the house, so you can't see it from the, so it doesn't go above the house. Like I wanted it that. And so anyway, so it's they kind of kidded me that it kind of looked like an outhouse, but it goes straight up and it goes back, and then the loft, and but it's more for like storing things, all those estate sale finds.
My goodness.
But anyways, we did it from the slab up because the slab was already there, and so we
that's what I was wondering. What kind of foundation did you use?
So the slab had already been there from a previous shed, and that's where like we had one, a limb fell through it, so it was like that started the process of like we got to do this, and I overdid it. Like I was like, this has to be the best shed. It had to build it like a house. That's the only way I knew how to do it.
I know, right? Like, it has to be good because you know that like you want it to withstand, the elements of nature. You want it to be something that you can use indefinitely. And right now you said you're using it to store all your things that you're finding at estate sales, but at some point in the future, I mean, you don't know what life is going to throw your way. It could be living quarters for someone that needs it, maybe an aging parent or somebody. So
100%.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Like when people see it, they're like, this looks like a tiny house.
Yes.
And I said, well, at some point it could possibly house somebody, who knows? So I have to make sure that it's, like right now I'm looking at, I feel embarrassed to say, but like I've had it for over a year and I still don't have a porch. I literally have a pallet, and it doesn't even have, like it has the gaps in it. So you have to kind of step over the gaps and then step up to get into the shed.
Get into it,
Well, when you do that, it's kind of an ankle breaker because if you step out and you step in the gap, you're down. And that actually happened to me.
Oh no.
A few months ago. I wasn't injured, but I was like, I wonder if anybody saw this. This is so funny, but kind of dangerous. But I recently had a quote from my concrete guy to do, and I didn't want to do steps per se, but I wanted to have it just kind of slope towards the building so that you can just walk right into it, but it still has that gradual slope. And for him to even come in to do kind of what we had planned, it's like $5,000. I mean, do I have the money? Yes. Do I want to pay that amount?
To do it? Yeah.
No. So it's very expensive, but I'm also thinking, well, if somebody's in a wheelchair and they have to wheel from the house into the shed, this would be a great opportunity to make that little ramp, that gradual ramp. So it's fun. It's fun. So we have to talk about this shed. If
Absolutely.
you want to come back, I want to talk about your process, because I'm sure there's other people that want to build their own sheds, or maybe even for housing, their projects. Are you in your shed now?
Oh yeah, it's done. It's done. So
So this is your shed that I'm looking at.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. No. This is our studio. This is our office studio.
Okay.
No. I thought you meant is it? Yeah, we finished it, but it's
I was like, oh, can you turn the camera around? So
no. So we don't have to go down, but my goal was, because you can see all kinds of videos about how to build one, but I want it to be like what you like, in that I could drywall it if I wanted to. I wanted it to that quality. And there are of course things out there, but really to learn how to do this, like, hey, you're learning how to frame a house, you're learning structural engineering on this thing, like you have to make sure that this is correct,
right?
And for me, my dad and my wife were like, hey, let's just build like a stick shed, like, like no, I want to be able to throw drywall, insulation, like it can be whatever I want it to be.
Exactly.
But anyway, so
I'm building my future residence if I ever need to move out here for whatever reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a loft, I can go up there and sleep.
So. I love it. Well, after this, you're gonna have to send me pictures. Now I have to see this tiny home in your backyard.
Okay, there you go.
One last thing. I will say, it's hard to even call it a shed, right? Like I feel when I say she shed, people know what I'm talking about. It's maybe a little bit more elegant than just shed. But when I say to my family, like, hey guys, I'm going out to the shed, I'm thinking, it's not a shed. It's more of like, it's a studio.
Yeah, it's an actual building.
Yes, it's a building. It is a real building that protects me from the elements, that, I can go in and air condition and heat, and I'm comfortable in here. So it's totally not a shed. So I think we have to get away from this shed. I mean, I know she shed is a hot, buzzword that people gravitate towards and understand what it is, but it's totally like, it is a tiny home.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And do you have a toilet in yours?
No.
You don't?
So I'm using mine for storage. So I didn't put the drywall and stuff on, but I wanted it to be to that point. Like that's where I want. So it is a typical, what you call a shed, just overbuilt. but yeah,
a shed with potential.
A shed with wherever I want to take it from there.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was my hardest part, was because I did grow up in a house that my family, like they built houses for fun. Like that was what they did on the sides. And so like every time, like you go out and be like, wow, concrete's gonna cost this much. No, I can figure out how to do that. Like it snowballed into that all over and over again.
And it's fun. It's a challenge to figure. And that's why, when this concrete guy had given me the quote for like $5,000. Yeah, I was telling a contractor friend of mine who I know from Habitat for Humanity, I volunteer with them, and he said, Serena, it's just concrete. Like you can just, rent a mixer or just do it yourself. And I'm like, do you have a lot of faith in my ability? I mean, I could probably figure it out, but I don't want it to crack. But it could be a really good experiment for my YouTube channel. So
to learn, yes, it's not that hard. But we don't do it in like the summer. So there you go. That's my one tip.
Okay, don't do it in the summer. Yes, because it probably would dry out and crack and all of that, right?
It's so you hot moving around all that, because it's a lot of manual, like just and my, like over the years when we built houses, it was like, please don't do the foundations in the summer. We'd be out there going, all right, get a shovel, let's go as fast as we can. And that truck would show up right up at 7 when they'd open it. We're going to beat the heat, but anyway.
Of course, they know, the contractors know.
Yep.
So 100%. So I am recording, and we totally could just talk about she shed.
Yes, sorry.
And all that stuff. But this episode, we are talking about estate sales.
Yes.
And I love this topic because my audience, as I was mentioning, they love a good deal. I have frequented some estate sales, I would say back when my house had no furniture, and I went and I was finding items. And then of course, thrift stores, I love thrift stores. I've gotten stuff from the side of the road, and now I feel like my house is pretty quote unquote done. I mean, there's always room for improvement, So I don't go out to thrift stores as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But there's still people, just for the sake of going to estate sales and seeing what they can find. You had mentioned in your bio some like really cool things that you had found, like instruments and old photographs, like just really cool stuff. And so I want to talk to you about like, what are some of those tips that people, well, I guess before we even get into like the tips and tricks of finding good deals, like why do people want to consider estate sales if they haven't even been going to estate sales? Maybe they just hadn't been thinking about them.
Yeah. So I think, and I do think there's a lot of people that don't even know that it even exists. It's a whole industry that's out there that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, if you are wanting to find unique, and it's not always unique, but just unique items that it's almost like a treasure hunt, and you are okay with them being secondhand, you're okay with those types of items, it really like draws on this idea of like individuality and hand selecting each individual item that you find at all these different sales over time to build out your space. And I think estate sales, there is not that everything is cheap, but like not that it's like always discounted, but it's usually at a lower rate than you're going to like a retail store, typically find items. And so there is whole movements around the idea of, I'm going to go to these sales and I'm going to build out a space that I love of these particular items that I like to hand select. And it might be an item that I will never find in another store. It's not like I can just go to every Walmart and find it. Nothing against Walmart, but it's like, I can find that everywhere. And I think it really speaks to people in that way. And now as it's gotten even more popular, the sustainability side of estate sales, the fact that you're just reusing items. And then on like you brought up the furniture, what we see a lot of people doing now is they're going and buying up some of the furniture that may never had been bought in the past, and they're redoing it. They're painting it, they're turning it into their own. And that's a whole nother movement. So like, it's like there's so many aspects to a sale when you go, and reasons why you might want to go there to an estate sale. But I think fundamentally it comes down to the individual and are they trying to build a space out? Are they trying to resell things? Are they doing that? And I personally use it to find whatever weird, like interesting item I can find that I want to put in my space. Like, oh,
exactly.
I like that. Yeah. Something unique.
It's fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun to find that one of a kind, or to you, it feels like one of a kind because there's not 12 of them on the shelf.
Yeah.
And walking in and seeing that thing. And it might be, like you said, it might be discounted. It might not be discounted, but here's this thing that you don't normally come across during, your trip to Home Goods. So here's this amazing thing. And I think that, yes, we do this to build up our homes and try to maybe like do a room makeover, but sometimes I think it can be very therapeutic, right? People have hobbies and just going and looking and seeing what you can find. And if you don't find anything, you're like, okay, well, I didn't spend any money.
Yeah.
But if I find something that's amazing, I got to tell the world.
100%. Yes.
I got to post it on Facebook. Oh my gosh, look what I just found.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just, it's a lot of fun. And I'm glad that you had reached out because, because you're the marketing director of estatesales.net. Right?
Yes.
And you've been there, I think you said 10 years?
10 years. Yep.
10 years. Yeah. And I'll admit to you, like estate sales had kind of fallen by the wayside. I hadn't thought about them in a long time. And then when you had reached out, I thought, I did find a couple of really cool things that I still have in my home that I purchased, probably about almost 10 years ago when we moved in. I found an Ethan Allen sofa for $100. That we still use to this day.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I'll tell you a funny story about that. And then I also have this really cool bench that I happened to find on day 2 of the estate sale because I didn't realize there were discounts. And I went back the following day and got this amazing bench for like 50% off and reupholstered it. And I'll leave a link down in the show notes for anyone that wants to look at this, but I reupholstered it years later and it looks gorgeous. And I think I paid like $50 for it. No, I think it was like $25.
Yeah.
Because it was originally 50.
50.
So just finding these items for your home, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though, because you love finding these things, how do you manage not overbuying? Because I know you said you just built a shed to house all these things.
Okay, so
you can get into some trouble, Matt.
You definitely can get into trouble. So you work in a building that you can just leave it. No. So I think there is limits. It's like, that's not going to fit in my car. There is no way I'm going to get that in the car. And so sometimes you just have to walk away. But sometimes it's replacing things that you have that maybe aren't like we come out of college, you have like your college furniture. It's like, why am I still holding on to this?
The futon.
The
dreaded futon. Yes.
So maybe it's time to replace stuff. And I think that's kind of how I've justified some of it in the past. Like, I'm replacing old, things that are not of value or not of quality. I'm going to replace them with higher quality goods. I love to, so me personally, I love to find things first off. And then it's like, who do I know that would want it? And so I do a lot of giving, I'll give it away. I'll be like, hey, you think that's cool? I think it's cool too. Here, you take it, you have it. So that's how I kind of unload some of them.
So it's like Christmas comes around, holidays come around, and we're like, okay, we know Matt's going to give us something that he found at the estate sale.
Yeah. So, I think that's one way, gifts, giving, you have people that, I actually I sold her a mid-century couch and chair, and we became friends on Facebook. And I sent her a message. It's like, hey, I got this sunburst clock I got at a sale. I was like, do you want this? Because I know it would look so cool in your space. And it's like, you start knowing people that are into the different designs. And it's like, I couldn't walk out of there and not, spend $5 on that, because I know someone will want this, And so I look at that as a challenge for myself personally, to just find interesting things that I know people that I know of. And then for myself, it's a lot of replacing what is not of quality with higher quality pieces. And or my wife and I go on, in our kitchen, we really need a buffet or like a credenza that we can put stuff in that will better organize, and get it. And so let's start looking for that when we go to sales, and we'll eventually find a very nice piece that speaks to us. And we actually did do that. And I have a story about trying to haul that home, but
let's hear it. I want to hear the story. I like stories.
Yeah. So we it was an estate sale several blocks from my house, and I went down there and I saw this credenza, and I was like, oh, that is the drawer. And it was old. It was very old, but high quality wood, the wood and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And real wood. And I was like, that would be perfect when you go into our house, in the kitchen area. And so I got my wife. I went back home, got my wife. I brought her, and I said, what do you think about it? She's like, I think that'd be amazing. So I had my tape measure, and I'm measuring it out. And we have this little Buick, and I was like, it's gonna it'll fit in the Buick. So I paid the lady $35 for this beautiful piece of furniture. And I take it out there and I put it, and I hadn't accounted for the fact that the Buick goes like this in the back.
Oh no.
So it fit in the bottom, but it wouldn't fit right at the top. So now I have this thing hanging out the back of this, and there's no way, it cannot go in there. And so I'm like, I have to save face now. I have to get it home somehow. So I went.
What did you do?
I went back to my house, and I have. Do you remember we have this old car? It's an old Mitsubishi Eclipse, and it's the little two-door sports car.
Yeah.
But they had huge hatches on the back of them, and this car has been through the ringer. My dad gave it to us. He's like, just take it. I don't want it anymore. So anyway, so I had it parked out in front of the house. I was like, okay, well, that's really wide. At least I could maybe set it in there. I'll just got to go 2 or 3 blocks. I'll be all right. And so I drive up and I go to put it in there, and I got it in there. It was in there hanging out the back with the hatch open. And I'm like, this is going on the internet. Someone's going to take a picture of this. It's going to happen. And have it. I'm like, Melody, hold on to it. Hold on to it. We're going to, from the front seat, we're going to make it. And we get to, this lady pulls up. She goes, honey, put that in the back of my truck. So she helped me.
Somebody offered their hauling services.
Yeah. So she put it in the back of her truck, and she drove down the road and dropped it off for me. So I made a friend, but.
Oh, nice.
But that was one of those moments of oh, your eyes were bigger than. But you know what? That is a really nice credenza, and it works amazing.
It's hard to walk away from those things. No matter the size, it's hard to walk away.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience years ago. Because my screen is blurred, you can't see behind me, but I've got this. Was it that one? No, I think that broke down. But anyway, one of my favorite thrift stores, I found things like dressers and things that just wouldn't fit into my 4-door sedan.
Yeah.
And, it became customary for me to ride around with bungee cords. Like I just knew that something was going to have to get bungeed down because I didn't have the space. And years later, once baby number 3 came into the story, we had to upgrade. I mean, we still had our 4-door Honda Accord, but we got a Honda Odyssey and it's a minivan. I'm telling you, it is amazing. That sofa that I told you, that Ethan Allen sofa, $100. It fit into the back of my van. I took the seats out and it's a long sofa. I'm tall. I'm about 5'10" almost. And I can stretch out on that sofa and still have foot space at the bottom. And the whole thing just slid into the minivan. But the funny thing is that day I actually had kind of played hooky from work. Like I went and left at lunchtime because I'm like, oh, there's an estate sale. And in fact, I actually had seen it listed on estatesales.net. So I said, okay, there's an estate sale that's in a really nice neighborhood, not too far from here. And I took my friend, I said, come on, let's go over here. And found the sofa, put it in the back of my van, went back to work, and then lugged it home at the end of the day. And I was so thankful for this minivan. I just, so that's one tip that I always tell people, like estate sales, sometimes you're going to find them during the week. And if you're working during the week, I mean, I know a lot of people work from home now and they have that flexibility, but if you're still working in an office, you might have to kind of take some time off or dip out and not let anybody know where you're going so that you can go there for that first day. So let me ask you, so what are some of those tips for finding some good deals? And how's it structured? So do most estate sales have discounts on day 2 and 3? How does that work?
So it's dependent on the company. So whatever company is running the sale, they will have different discount schedules. And what we typically see is it's like first day full price, a typical discount schedule. First day full price, 25% next day. If it's a 4-day sale, then it'll be 50, then it'll be 75. And then it's like, just make me an offer, like get it out of here, towards the end of the day. That is pretty typical. I have actually seen where it's like a 3-day sale. So they do like 33% increments, they do like 33% and 66%. And then at the end, it's like 75, 80, like they just, at that point, it's like, we're go get it out of here. I say like getting the best deal. So, those discount days, like take those into account. So if you're on like estatesales.net, look at the terms and conditions. And if a company does that, they'll usually list like day 2 is going to be this, day 3 is going to be this. Take that into consideration. And then what I love to do is I go on the first day and I look for all the things I like cannot live without. And so I go, that's day 1. And sometimes I will find really good deals because part of the thing with estate sales is companies they can't always know every single thing about everything in the house. And so I might, like you said, like about instruments and stuff, like I love Japanese era guitars. Well, how many people know serial numbers on Japanese era guitars? It's gotten more popular. But for me, I might go on the first day and be like, okay, that's very valuable. No one knew that. I knew that. And so I bought it. And people have that in all kinds of different areas of expertise. And so if you have like an expertise in something, go on that first day and see, you may get a deal on that. But, so go for the first day, see if there's things you can't live without. Then I love to go back on the last day. So I like first and last day. And then last day, I go back and pick up all the things like, I buy tons of hand tools, like things that I would not, because you can get such good deal. Like, oh, I paid 75 cents for a pair of pliers. That'd be 30 that I may never use, but I don't want to buy them for 30 whenever, they're specialty pliers and like things
when
like that.
You need them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like the last day is usually then like, you're probably gonna get your best deals during that time. Also, don't be afraid, like respectfully do it, but don't be afraid to negotiate. Like companies are used to that. Like, hey, if I buy that right now, would you take this for it? Like that's because what a lot of people don't know is with estate sales, they are trying to liquidate an entire estate, usually so that the house can be sold. And they have a time crunch. And it's like, we have 3 days or 4 days, everything has to be out of this house. And so the estate sale company's job is to get the most amount of money possible within that time crunch. And so if it's like, hey, that thing's not moving, they will make deals on items and package things together. Ask, hey, I'll buy these 20 items. Could you make me a deal on it? So that's very typical. And that's usually how like I approach the, trying to find deals and trying to get good deals and stuff. But I think, and then the other side of that is as you go to more sales, you'll start knowing the different companies, how they price. So some companies will price really high And it's like, oh, well, first day, maybe it's not worth to go on the first day. And you just know I'm going to always go on the second day because the pricing's high. And that's nothing against them. They want to get the most amount of money for their client as possible. Or there's a company in Kansas City that everything is like very, almost like what you would see discount day, but it's like day one is like that. And it's like, you better be in line, because that line is going to be all the way around the block, because you're walking in and you might buy a tiller for $35, but that whole house is going to be cleared out in a day, and that's their business model. And, they do very well doing that. And so you learn how different companies price, how, structure their pricing. And that comes with just going to more sales in your area and learning those companies. And it's kind of it's a whole community, because there's only so many companies and areas doing estate sales. So it's like, you start knowing the people, you start knowing the people in the line.
If you go enough.
Yeah.
Now, is it, I don't know, this may not be something that companies like to admit that they do, but if you make friends with some of these people in the company, could they let you know ahead of time? Like, have you ever, maybe you're not going to admit to this, but have you ever contacted a company and said, hey, I'm looking for this particular thing, or they've contacted you because they know that you like, did you say Japanese air guitars?
Or Japanese era guitars, like they're whenever the guitars were being manufactured in Japan, that was like,
okay. Yes. So they know that you like that, and somehow they realize, oh, Matt likes this particular item. Have you ever had a company contact you to say, hey, we've got this thing, I just want to let you know? And is that sort of against their rules, or do they?
I wouldn't say that's against the rules. They're trying to find a buyer for the items. I've never personally had that, because honestly, since we work for statesales.net, I try to separate that. I don't want to, violate anything. So for myself, no, I don't do that. But that is very common. So if they know that you're there for certain items, if you build that relationship and you have a good relationship with them, don't be surprised if they're not saying, hey, next sale, I've got all these, bicycles, because you love bicycles, like you need to come to this, or Lionel trains, or if they know you as an expert, they may be calling you saying, hey, here, you want to come see this and see what we've got. And so like that does happen. That's very common, because at the end of the day, their job is to get that stuff to the people that want it, and if they can get it out of there as fast as possible, that's what they're doing, because they need to get that house clean and ready to be sold. And so 100% those relationships, Dan, who started the company, like that's what he started on, and he had relationships with companies that would be like, hey, I've got all these kitchen goods that because I don't know if you know the story about, but he would rebuild mixers, like that was his thing, and they've been in like movies and sets and stuff like that. And he is like the guy for KitchenAid mixers and Sunbeam mixers anyways. And so he had all these relationships, and that's how the estatesales.net started. Was they would call and be like, hey, I've got this in the sale, I've got this, and he knew them, and he'd be like, hey, can I come and photograph your sale? So he could get in. Then he would do that so he could get in early just to see it before he, and then that all turned into him and his son's programmer, and then made the site. And so that all was based off of these relationships with companies actually in Memphis. And we still have they'll call and ask for Dan, like they know Dan, years, 20 years later.
20 years. I noticed that on the site. I was looking at it today, and I'm like, wow, it's been around for 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
That's amazing. But I also noticed too that estatesales.net has a special feature, right, where people can actually put in kind of what they're looking for, like keywords. Yes. Like if I'm looking for, let's say I love mid-century. Okay, I'll tell you what I love. I love drafting tables. I just love them. Yeah. So you're saying that I could go to estatesales.net, sign up for an account, put in sort of the keywords that I'm looking for, and then I'll get notified if any of those things become a match. Any of those. Yes. Oof.
Yeah. Okay. That's a pretty powerful tool.
I love that.
Yeah. And that's a treasure tracker thing. And you can, treasure tracker is what it's called on the site. But if you sign up for email notifications, and you can change those, like maybe you don't want to be notified about sales, but you only want to be notified about those items. And then you just put in those keywords of certain things that you want. And then if they come up, you can tell it like how far you want to travel for that. And then you'll get emails if the company listed in their sale. And so that's a very good way, especially if you're looking for like very specific items to be alerted to them. So yeah, there's a lot of people that use that feature when they're hunting down like brand, like if they want like Chanel or they want brand name items,
brand name things.
Yeah.
And also too, when I had found my sofa, when I'd found my bench. I know that I went with cash, right? So,
Yes.
you know, a lot of times people just don't even have cash. They're usually carrying credit
Yeah.
cards. But from your experience, do most of them accept kind of the same kind of payments? Because what I think would be, I don't want to say a bad situation, but when you get there and you see something that you like, and oh, we don't take credit cards, we only take cash, or
Yeah.
maybe there's like an extra fee for using credit cards. There might be somebody standing in line behind you that wants that thing and you miss out on it. So
Yeah.
generally, what are their requirements for
For
what you walk away with? What payment? I mean,
Yeah, so um we do a study every year. It's the industry survey that we survey companies, and honestly, one of the things I was curious about was cash versus credit card. And like you said, like a lot of people don't even carry cash anymore because they want to use credit cards. And the whole industry is moving towards credit card. Like it's like 80, I don't want to quote bad stats, but it's like 80+%
mm,
of companies now take credit cards. What we always say is take some cash with you. So take some cash with you, and then because you don't want to miss out on a particular thing. But most of the time now, you're going to find companies are going to accept cards. Now, sometimes they do come with a fee, so they will charge you a percentage fee, or they charge you a fee for using that card. That's not every company.
mm.
I'd have to look at the stats. We actually know that number too, but like how typical that is. I think it's like 35% charge a fee and something like that. But if I'm pulling it from my 5 years of memory bank of each year doing it, but so take some cash with you. Now, what I would do is on estatesales.net, you have the sale listing, so you can look at all the pictures and you can look at everything about the sale. Usually in the terms and conditions, that's where you're gonna find the discount schedule, and you'll typically find if they accept cash or cards, and then you'll know ahead of time. So if it says cards, well, then be prepared, unless like there's an internet problem, like you're gonna be able to do cards, and probably if there's an internet problem, they'll probably let you come back with cash if you had to leave, but typically, but yeah, I always what some of my favorite places. So my wife is from Kansas City, so we will travel to Kansas City a lot, and I love to go to sales up there. And I usually typically run by the bank, get some cash out just in case there's something I find before I go out on it.
Now your wife is totally on board with
Oh
you
yeah.
and your love of estate sales, right? So
Yes.
at
Yeah.
any point she's never said, "Okay, Matt, look, you have to stop. Like this is too much." Because I know my husband over the years, I mean, he doesn't complain now because I don't bring things home at the alarming rate that I was before,
Yeah.
but the garage would literally be stacked to the point that there were two little narrow pathways and you'd have to kind of suck in your gut and kind of shimmy your way through and being
Yeah.
careful that you don't knock something over. And it
Yeah.
got to the point where he's like, look, this is ridiculous. You have to stop bringing things home. So your wife, though, on the other hand, she's been on board. Does she also love to go to the estate sales with you, or is she just okay with you enjoying your hobby? You're bringing home good stuff. This is his job, but it's also his hobby.
Yeah.
How does she feel about that?
She enjoys it. She enjoys it, I think, for other reasons than I love the thrill of the hunt. So for me, it's like, what am I gonna find that no one knows what this is? And
Yeah.
that's a Geiger counter. No one knows that's a Geiger counter. I want it. It's some kind of weird random.
And wait, and I have to ask, like, do
Yeah.
you walk into estate sales and you find something that you know is like treasure, and you're trying to keep a straight face because it's only $5, and you're like, they can't know that they're literally giving this away.
Oh yeah.
Has that happened to you?
Yeah, you have to develop the poker face. I mean, they want to sell the stuff, so but yeah, I've more it's like, okay, I know that's probably so probably if you film this, it would probably be so goofy looking, but I'm like, pretty sure that's valuable. But I'm not going to draw attention to it, and I'm not going to walk over there and pick it up because I know someone else is going to go pick it up if they see me pick it up. So now I'm going to walk in this other room here, and I'm going to type in my phone what I saw on it.
Ooh,
because I kind of want to know what that is, because no one probably knows what that is, because it's like there might be a few, but like that's very specific. It could be like some random, usually it's like a tool or like a industrial looking thing. Like found this really cool, I forgot exactly what it's called, but it's a barometer, but it's done with like a spool, and I was like, what is that thing? But it looked like a Geiger count, or not Geiger count, it looked like a seismic, like a earthquake thing.
yeah.
But it's a barometer. Anyways, there's a special name for it, but so like something like that, I might walk in another room and be like, spool with trying to figure it
All
out.
the keywords.
Yeah, so I can
hoping that
try
you
to
get a
figure out
match.
what it is. So I do kind of do that sometimes where it's like, but I'm not going to draw too much attention to it because I don't want to carry it. Because once I pick it up and be like, that's mine, I need to go buy it. Like I need to
Right.
buy it. And it's like, now my curiosity is so like peaked. I have to know what that is. So there's a lot of that. And my wife is very supportive. She will be like, honey, like, you sure? Like like we really need that. But then she's like, if you think we need it, sure.
I
but,
love her attitude. I
yeah,
love that.
but she goes, and for her it's about like what makes our life like better from a functional standpoint. Like she loves that aspect of it. So I love mid-century modern. She loves Art Deco. I can appreciate Art Deco. I think Art Deco is beautiful, like the waterfall, dressers and things like that. So for her, she's gonna be walking into a sale like, man, what can I put in my house that is going to like further this look, and we haven't always been the best at following through on a look, but like interior design look. But it's like for her, that's how she approaches it. So like that credenza, it's like, oh, that's gonna change something in our life for the better. Oh yeah, let's buy that. So that's how she'd approach it. I'm like, oh, that's a $3,000 exercise bike for $75. I gotta buy that because I know my mom probably needs an exercise bike, or I know someone else that needs an exercise bike.
It's really good. It's really good when other people do need things or could appreciate it, because it's such a good find. You just want someone to enjoy it because it's such a good thing that you don't. It doesn't even have to be yours. It just has to be enjoyed by somebody that you know.
Enjoyed.
Like,
Yes,
please
100%.
do not let this valuable thing sit here. Now, I will ask you, have you ever hidden anything on day one?
No.
I know you won't admit that, but
no, I no. I would feel horrible.
like, let me just put this tool underneath the cushion of the sofa.
Yeah, no, I would feel so bad consciously. But no, I haven't. You will find that sometimes. I've walked in and been like, well, why is that there? Oh,
someone's trying to like store like a squirrel and squirrel away their treasure for the next day when it's marked down, when they can't.
Yeah.
I know. I've gone into thrift stores and I've had I think there was a table. There was a really nice table that I found, or there was something that I found that it was covered up. And I liked that it was covered up because everybody kept walking by it. I think it was my dining room table, in fact, and it was only like $12.
Oh,
and it was just, kind of a simple table. In fact, it's the same table that I have in my dining room now. Like I never replaced it, which I probably need to at this point. But there were items sitting on it. There was like some sort of blanket just casually laid over it. And I was like, I couldn't believe that this table's here for $12. And the minute I uncovered it, people walked by and they were like, oh, that's nice. So I love when you find something that, was just naturally hidden and you're the one to discover it. Like, wow, I can't believe I found this.
That is, so when I go to a sale, typically, so if I look at the pictures on the site and I go, okay, what room could that be? If there's a certain item that I like need, and then I can kind of like mentally lay out in my head, like, oh, that's the garage. That's gonna be off the side. It's a ranch style home. Like I'll break it down, but that's in the basement. So, okay. So that's where I got to head first. But a lot of times I love garages, outbuildings is my favorite, garage, like a garage, and then, basements are typical, and then the closets. So because what usually happens is people don't want to dig. Like people don't want to dig, and digging is when you'll find those items where they were hidden because whoever had that, whoever stuff that was previously, like they probably just set it back in the very back corner of a closet because they never want to see it again. Like it was a thing, but it's like, oh, that's a 1950s radio, like that was stuck on a shelf up in the basement. And I found a beautiful mid-century radio one time like that, where it had been walked past I don't know how many times. And so like that's the kind of stuff where personally I will go into those areas and look under tables, look in the back of a cabinet or something, and say, what has been stashed back here that wasn't pulled out, or a person that's just browsing through the sale didn't really take some time to really look for. One of the a really neat item I think is neat, but it was so Hoover hired all these really cool designers back in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s, like during mid-century. And you're talking like this guy designed this airport, but he also designed a Hoover vacuum, and so it's beautiful stuff. And I was in a garage, and I think it was the last day I was standing in a garage, and I pulled back some plastic like there's just some plastic on the ground. And I pulled it back, and there's this. It's a hovering vacuum cleaner that Hoover made in the 60s. I think it was the 60s.
Wow.
And it looks like a globe. It was the same color as like the Earth, and it
What?
was. It's a constellation, I think is what the model number is. And it had a hovercraft, a little skirt, and it would float across the floor. And you're talking like space age, like that's
What?
what they wanted. And it was like mid-century to the T of what you would find. And it had just been walked past. No one knew it was there. No one had taken the time to pull it. Anyway, so I showed the company, and it's kind of dirty. I said, "Hey, how much is this?" They didn't have a price on it. They go, "You can have it." So, well, thank you.
Oh
So
my
I
gosh.
brought it back, and of course I'm here at work, and I'm like we had a big sink, and I'm like in there scrubbing this thing down and waxing it. Like what's Matt doing? Anyways, I got it.
This globe.
Yeah. I'm making this thing like I had it, and I did have like rubbing compounds, so I make it, and you guys are not gonna believe what this does. And I turn it on, and I just glide it across the floor, the hardwood floor. That's insane. And Dan, who started the company with Mickey, owner of the company, he came by and he goes, "Matt, I'm rebuilding this camper from the same time period. It's from the 60s. And he redoes cars. He does lots of cars.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, that would be the perfect, because it was the right green, like it's the right color in this old mid-century camper. He goes, that would be the perfect thing. And I said, well, Dan, that is yours. So he took it, and it's part of that piece, and it was a piece that was just
so cool
underneath some plastic, and it's just kind of taking the time to dig. Do
you have a picture of that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, we can.
Can you send it to me afterwards? I'll see if I can link it down below, because I would love to see it. And I think anybody listening to this would be curious to see what that looks like. I would love to see it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll send it to you. And I haven't followed up with him to find out, like, does he keep it in his camper or not? Like, I'm sure he does, because it goes with it. But anyway.
And and it's probably one of his most prized possessions.
There you go.
Probably, I have no doubt. It's unique. It's fun. So all these things that you're finding from estate sales, how are you? I mean, I know you said that you love mid-century modern, but some of them you're storing up to maybe give away. But how are you using them to create the home that you have? Like, are you able to create, or do you or your wife have like talent of being able to for people who are listening, you can't see, but I'm looking at a display that's behind you.
Yeah.
And I know, you said you're in the office, but I love that, you've got a mix of things there. You've got like a radio, you've got a clock, and it just looks fun and vintage with a little bit of modern, with the piping of the shelving. But do you do that in your home? Do you have the skill to be able to bring together these things so that when you're walking into your home, you're like, oh yeah, like I love every piece, and it was intentional that I brought into my house?
I would say we're working towards that. It's probably not at the level that it should be. We just
have
an 8-month-old, so we just had a baby.
Or do you have like piles of like, this
I
is
do
what
have
I
some
found
of that.
in the month of December?
Yeah, no, not quite like that. But no, I mean, I have some stuff like on shelves and things like that. A lot of the stuff that I find, because the estate sales in that building was made in 1895, I think. And we have a lot of different rooms. So we'll have like our studio here, and a lot of times I honestly would bring a lot of those things that I love for myself, and I wanted to see them every day. I would bring them and display them here. So I would have them like around the rooms. And so like that for me is where I honestly like that weird barometer thing that I was talking about. Like that was displayed in the office because I just thought it was cool. like there. Yeah. But no, as far as our house, not to disappoint anybody, but it probably is not at the level of where it should be when it comes into.
I know I'm always so jealous of people who are able to do that, where they find those amazing mixes of just things that they've just loved, or that are old, that just they have personality to them, and they're able to curate them into a look that if anybody comes over, somebody would enjoy looking at all their treasures. The things that I've found, I'm kind of the same way as you. Like I don't really have a particular style. I know that when I see mid-century modern stuff, I like it. There's things that I've bought. Like I did, oh gosh, what was that? I think it was a couple months ago. There's a company that does auctions that somebody had told me about some time ago, and they offer a lot of really good stuff. So I bought these 2 mid-century modern chairs. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I just want to make them over, put some new fabric, but I don't really have anywhere to put them. And so, sometimes I struggle with this like desire to find really good stuff and make it over, and then the ability to actually use it and have it be a
Use it.
part of like this beautiful home. It's
Yeah.
just sort of a hodgepodge of things that I've slapped together over the years.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like sometimes I just buy what I like and then I don't know how to make it
Yeah.
to really honor it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Honor it.
absolutely. So I think
I
with,
struggle with that.
yeah, and that's hard sometimes. Like it's hard. It's like for me, I love so many sporadic things that it's like I don't know how my house is going to like actually have that look. But I think the people that can do that, like that's a gift. Like the interior and what my wife and I like will talk about. So I actually learned this from a local company that does interior design. And we were talking about, because we wanted to do an Art Deco. We have this grand piano that my wife has moved around and it's in our living room. And we were talking to them about like, what could we do? Because we wanted to go with like an Art Deco look and like, how would we go about this?
Mm,
And the biggest thing that he was telling me, like, he goes, all right, if you start this journey, like really look at scaling, like start looking at like how you scale furniture in a room. And so I always kind of keep that in mind when I think about like, if I'm going to buy a couch, which honestly right now, because I have such a little one, like some of that mid-century, like it's going to get destroyed like
oh yeah.
with a little one. Like I kind of want to throw away couch right now. But with stuff like that, it's like, oh, when I was a kid, like in college, I just took whatever couch I could. And that's why that looked weird in the room, because it was so big. Like, it was
Right.
way too big.
Right.
It's like learning like how to scale and how to really like truly display items on a wall, like a shelving, like to truly do that. And I think that's an art. And I think as you do more of it, or learn more about it, like anyone I think can do that. But I do think it takes some knowledge, outside knowledge of coming in of like, how do you scale furniture? How do you, when you find those pieces that can actually really look good? I have a set of mid-century chairs that I bought that I would love to put in my house, but like the way how it would look is just, it's not gonna fit in the room. And I brought them here because like we have meetings and things like that, and like that kind of piece, I absolutely love it. But will I ever take it home? Probably never, because it's just not gonna fit right in that space. And maybe someday, but not right now.
It almost makes me wonder if, like if there's certain parts of your home that you love mid-century modern. So maybe your living room is mid-century modern. Your wife loves Art Deco. So maybe the bedroom is Art Deco.
Yeah.
So, maybe we don't have to love one particular style for our entire house. We have different styles, and each room is going to give off a different feeling. You might have mid-century modern when you're entertaining in your living room, but then when you're sleeping, you want Art Deco or something. So I think maybe that might be a great idea. Like I'm thinking of that for myself.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have to like just one style, just have different sections in each room. It doesn't have to be cohesive throughout the entire house. I mean, especially for someone like me, like my house is a 1973 home, and it's not open concept. So each room is very kind of sectioned off with 4 walls.
Yeah.
And so I think if you have a home that's built like that, maybe you can get away with that.
Yeah.
And have different styles in different places.
Yeah. So there's right now, Architectural Digest just released for their like trends of 2023. And it was all about like, honestly, thrifting and secondhand items is like,
oh really?
Where they're projecting that's really going to move. And we're actually seeing it too. Like more and more people are getting into estate sales and really, and even they had pointed out there are 2 trends where high quality furniture, people want high quality furniture. They don't want furniture they just throw away. And then they also are wanting to create spaces that they love. And that doesn't necessarily have to be one style. It can be mix and match styles. Like, because life doesn't necessarily work like this is mid-century. This is, like it never, this is the 70s retro. Like that all like morphed. Grandma morphed that stuff together because she had a mid-century chair and she had the 70s came along, and now we have this. So like, and Art Deco stuff held over too. And there's some beautiful things with Art Deco and then the straight lines that you can use with mid-century, that those pieces can fit together beautifully in the right context. But I think what we're going to see now is it's like, go buy high quality items, like get high quality items, either some of that old brown furniture that everybody talks like the old 80s brown furniture that it's ugly. Like it's just not pretty. But now there's all these movements around redoing that to make these beautiful pieces. Well, people are redoing those to make these pieces that actually fit in their house. Like they fit in their styles. But a lot of that old brown furniture was super high quality. Like the wooden stuff was phenomenal. It weighs a ton. And I think that that's, now is personally, I believe it's moving to like surrounding yourself with items and things that you love and creating your own sense of style. And it's not necessarily one, like this is a mid-century home, this is an art deco home, this is a 70s funky, like that, oranges and greens, like all that kind of stuff, like, which those can be so cool when they're done perfect to the periods. Like that's amazing. But I don't think life really necessarily works that way. Like it really does cross across it, unless you are building out a house that's like, this is a model home for mid-century. I think that's really what it is. And going to sales, I think my like biggest tip of going to a sale is like enjoy it and buy things that just like make you really happy, and then if it's a matter of like giving those away later because maybe it didn't fit that nook, like then it's going to make someone else happy. Or if you love reselling, you can resell. If you got in, if you got into that, and that's a whole movement too in the estate sale world, is reselling. That's everyone's doing that, but it feels like anyways. But I really think that that's kind of where it's heading, and that's how I've always treated it. Like I'm going there to see something that just makes me very happy and I want it. And whether I leave that at work because I want to look at that today, or I it's on a shelf at home, like, and then there's practical. The estate sales, there's also like, that's not the pretty side, like mid-century furniture, like all the beautiful, like those things that's the fun, like everybody wants to hear about. But there's also the practical side of estate sales. Like you're getting a dorm room and you really need kitchen utensils and you need things like that. Go buy them for cheap. Don't buy that stuff where you're not paying full price, and it might be a very high quality goods that you're getting. And so the practical side, like I said, like all the tools, like I love to just go buy hand tools that I don't want to pay $30 down at Lowe's or Menards for something like that. I got a really high quality pair of pliers that, no, I may not use them every day, but I paid 50 cents for them. So
exactly. Yeah. I went to the auction that I was telling you about recently that I gone to get the mid-century modern chairs. I found a pair of bolt cutters, like the big bolt cutters. Those things, you're right. Those things are about $30, probably $40, if not more, if you go to a big box store. But I paid about $1 for them. I don't know where they are. They're somewhere around here, but I know that I have them. So if I need them, I didn't pay a lot of money for them. Yeah. And you have,
high quality piece that, you don't have to, you have it in your collection in case you need it. 100%.
A couple questions about, people finding high quality. You said Architecture's Digest is talking about people moving into this thrifting secondhand space of getting these things for their home. Did they make any comment about whether people are refinishing? Like, are people refinishing them with natural finishes, or is there still this movement of, let's find this big ugly brown thing and we're just going to paint it?
So they didn't really go into details on that I can recall, that I remember from it. But I will say, so that is a lot of argument in that world of what, and I would take the stand on, like, if it is a genuine mid-century piece that you could very much run the value in it. But value is an eye of the beholder, and maybe you just want it to look like that. And you know what? If that's what you love, do it. But if you're ever thinking about, I might sell this someday or something like that, then you really need to, I would say, educate yourself on, like, these are the colors that were used. This is the, that teak wood, like, be very careful with that, or find someone that refinishes that professionally. Like, so for me personally, I would never, like, I couldn't do it. I could never paint it. Like, those mid-century chairs are beautiful. I can never paint them. But, if that's your space and that's what you want for the rest of your life, and that's what you want, go for it. Go for it. But if you want to resell it, or I never plan on reselling those chairs, but I just couldn't do it. But I think, but then there's some things that just have no, I don't want to say have no value, but there's just such little value in some, like the old brown furniture. I don't think anyone's up in arms. And you're seeing a lot of painting. A lot of it is paint still, like they're painting them. That whole paint world has gotten I am not an expert in this, but that whole like thing has very much, there's so many different manufacturers that are coming out with different types of paint
Oh my
and
gosh,
different ways for
loaded.
applications. So it's like not like in the past where it's like you got some chalk paint, like now it's like, you know,
That's so true. Because when I first started, when we bought this house in 2010, that's why I started going to thrift stores, because I mean, I always loved thrift stores, but I didn't have any furniture. And I thought, well, this is a great way for me to go and furnish this house.
yeah,
Everything that I would buy, I'm like, how do I paint this? And so I
yeah,
started doing the research, and then chalk paint. That's everything that
yeah,
came up on the internet. Chalk paint, Annie's
yeah,
Lawn chalk paint. And now there are so many brands.
yeah.
You could before you couldn't even go to your local big box store
Uh-uh.
and find anything related to furniture paint. You had to get it
No.
from the paint counter. You had to sand, prime, do all those things. You don't have to do all of that now per se,
Mm-mm.
if it's in good condition. So I think that the industry has really made it easy for people to transform stuff that they even already have in their own home.
Oh yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
almost like you don't need to go and buy something new unless you really need it, or like you
Need it.
said,
Yeah,
you're just kind of switching out something. But
yeah,
it really just makes it fun and creative, and you find something that got it you got it at an estate sale for $25, and now you've got this amazing large dresser that just brightens up your room with a
yeah,
fresh coat of paint. Like it's amazing.
yeah.
And I think even just talking about all of this and having this conversation, I am so excited to go to some estate sales. I'm not kidding you.
Good.
I'm going to find some
Yeah.
things, and then I'm going to email you and say, Matt, look what I found.
Good. Do it. I want to see it. I love
And then
seeing the finds. Like,
we can share pictures of, hey, I found this, I found
found it.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up about
Um,
estatesales.net, or about, things that people should be looking for or doing as they're, probably now going to go to estatesales.net to see what they, what they can find near them? Any last
yeah,
things you want to share?
I would say the last thing I would share, well, maybe two things. One, have fun with the state sales. Like I know that like it's always been like kind of an underground thing for so long, and now it's kind of taken off, and it's like, well, how do I go? How do I, like, don't overcomplicate it. Just go. Like it's very easy to go to an estate sale. And so enjoy it, like enjoy that process, and find what you love about it, because there's so many things that you can find you love about it. The other thing I would do, which is slightly a plug, but honestly, like download the estatesales.net app if you on any of like your smartphone, because I love the website itself. It's wonderful. The app makes it so easy when you're on the go. So like just the mobile side of it, not that the site
Mhm.
can't, but like the fact that you just like, uh, I want to map straight to this sale, and it just does it, from your phone, and saving items and saving pictures and stuff. You can do all that in that app. And I know that I work for estatesales.net, and it's like, of course you would say like, don't, but honestly, the app has been like a game changer, and I love it. And every time I go to like a big metropolitan area or someplace like that, it's like, I love this thing. I like come back like, guys, like, this is dangerous. Like if I just hit 5 estate sales in like no time because I knew where they were. And so download the app. Like I really think if you're going to go on your first journey, like do that, because it honestly opens up the whole world, and it is like having a little treasure map in your pocket.
Well, I will definitely download it. I know that
Good,
I
yeah.
have an account. I probably have an old account that I haven't used for a while, but I'm
Yeah.
going to make sure that I have
Yeah.
access to it, and I will sign up for the app for sure. I will download that. And
Get it.
anybody
Yeah.
anybody that's listening to this, you can find the links down below. And this was so much fun talking to you. I definitely, you know
Yes,
what?
thank
If
you.
you're down for it, I want to have you come back so we can talk more about how you did your shed,
Yeah,
and
for
just
sure.
tips and tricks for anybody that wants to build a shed. Since you've built it, you have that experience. I've done some interior stuff myself in my shed, and we could have a great conversation.
Absolutely, 100%. Just let me know. This has been so much fun. Thank you.
I know,
Thank
I
you for having
enjoyed
me.
it.
It's
Yes.
been
And you're
great.
just such a delight. I just love talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All
It's
right,
been
Matt.
great.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We'll see you.
All right. I'm going to stop recording here.
Yep, sounds good.